I'm sure in your career, there's been at least one time, if not several times, where you have just been like shaken, like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get out of this? So if you're able to, if there's anything that you are able to share or talk about, how in one of those moments, how did you move forward and get past it?
So again, virtual mentors. There's one thing one of my seniors said to me. I believe it was, I can't remember the time frame, but it stuck with me, and I forever remember it. He said, "You didn't get where you are by yourself, and you won't get where you're going by yourself." Basically, humbling me in that moment, because if a lot of people don't know, I'm over the top in a lot of ways when it comes to being competitive. I study a lot, I learn a lot. So when there's an opportunity to compete with somebody, my energy rises. So with that, he was really humbling me and realizing, no, a lot of people helped you get where you are. And so by no means do I want to communicate, oh, Isaiah is this and he's just a perfect thinker. And no. And so one thing I always tell, it's humbling to tell the story. But I have to, it's on my channel. I don't have a thumbnail. It's not a fancy thumbnail because I'm not proud of that video. I'm not proud of what I'm talking about. But it's basically when I cried in basic training. Second week, sitting in my chair next to my locker, boo-hooing, big crocodile tears, crying like a baby. And again, I'm not proud of it to this day. As men, we don't cry. Our tear ducts do not work. But I cried like a baby in front of 50 men, in front of my MTIs. It broke me. One thing a lot of people don't tell you about basic training is that it's going to address all your vices in a single moment, because you lose all of them. You lose your naps, you lose your sugar, you lose cigarettes, you lose tobacco, you lose alcohol, you lose the gym, you lose anything that you turn to for comfort, any music, anything you turn to for comfort is taken away from you. And they hand you a book and they say, do what I tell you to do. They hand you a gun and say, do what I tell you to do. They hand you a book bag, they hand you a uniform, they say, do what I tell you to do. It's pure obedience, but you don't have any vices. So with that, that was the first obstacle I had to overcome, because I was ready to quit. I was ready to go home. I was like, there's a better chance of me going to the NBA than dealing with just the foolishness of these people yelling at me. And again, it wasn't hard. There was nothing difficult, because it's pure obedience. They tell you what to do and you just do it. But the environment it's different.
Yeah, I cannot imagine. So what kept you going?
So so it's something called a BMTSG, Basic Military Training Guide, or Basic Military Training Study Guide. And it's just another book you got to study and read, and you get a test on it. So the whole entire, right, especially after that event, I spent most of my free time writing Eric Thomas quotes. Anything I can think of his voice, of just, we've been through slavery. You can't get through this. You owe yourself a better explanation than quitting. Like just wow. And I would just write out every quote I can think of, just fill in the pages. And then also at the same time just wrote a diary of just my thoughts. And again, there wasn't a solution, but it just worked to give me something to do to outlast the pain, which is another Eric Thomas quote. It's just outlast it. You don't gotta be the best. Just outlast this foolishness. I lean heavily on the wisdom of others, people that have gone before me, people that are way ahead of me, people are in places that I want to be in. It's nothing of myself. Obviously, God is the source. He's the resource. He's the foundation. Yeah. But again, we were set on this earth with people. And I'm like, it is foolish of me to think that I can climb the mountain by myself and never question why there are bones next to me. Somebody tried this before me. So who am I to try to just go ahead and I'm going to run this race and I'm going to do my own YouTube thing. Meanwhile, all these videos are telling you, hey, watch out for this. Don't say this. Be careful with that. You should watch out for that. All this wisdom is laying in the streets, and I'm here trying to learn via pain. I'm just above my head. I'll figure it out. I'm gonna do it my way. I lean heavily. When I tell you heavily, I study, I read, hours and hours and hours of YouTube videos and podcasts of just me going in search of wisdom, and it's everywhere. It's nothing of my own doing. A lot of these theories I have, these philosophies, these structures I have in my life are somebody else's. Eric Thomas gets up at 3 a.m. He was the first person I ever heard. I'm like, why are you getting up at 3? And he says, because I can beat people that are more talented than me to the spot. It's just, before you get up to be talented, I'm done. I beat you when you got up at 9. I got up at 3. I have 6 hours ahead of. I beat you, and from that, I just realized, well, okay, that has other benefits besides just beating someone. You give yourself structure. You give your sleep patterns. You give your body, some discipline to follow. And with that, everything else just kind of builds on top of it, where you just get more wisdom. You learn, discipline. I learned that from a Navy SEAL commander. You're like, discipline equals freedom. If I'm disciplined first, I get comfort on the other end, not the other way around. So again, none of this stuff is my own doing. I adopt a lot of it and I preach it in my own way, in the form of documentation, but it's not me. It's definitely God giving to others. And then I gleaned from, the masses.